Hi guys, and welcome back on my channel. For today's video I have something special for you when it comes to how to apply highlighter with your finger. So there's no brush needed, you just can apply it with your finger, and I'm just going to show you how and also what options you are having. So let's get started. So when it comes to applying highlighter, it doesn't always mean that you have to have an actual highlighter in a pan. You can get highlighters in different textures and also in different pans and also sometimes eyeshadow palettes. So I'm going to show you a few options and then you will see how you can apply it with your finger. So first we have the liquid version. This can come in a tube or also in a little pot type of thing, and then you have normally a dropper where you can also place it on the cheeks, for example, and then pat it in with your fingers. So you have the tube option or the very liquidy option. Then you have it in some eyeshadow palettes, so you don't really have to have an actual highlighter. For example, this is just a small eyeshadow palette, and this one right here or this one as well would be a beautiful highlighter that you can also apply with your fingers. And then I have a second palette, because normally you have eyeshadow palettes where it has already a highlighter in it, and that also suits your skin type as well and also skin tone. And then you have the normal actual highlighters, which are in one single pan or also sometimes in a palette where you have multiple highlighters. So it just depends what you have at home, and you don't really need to buy an extra highlighter palette. It just depends on what you have at home and also what you want to use. So for example, you can also have stick highlighters. I have to say I don't really have a stick highlighter, but you could also use this one and pat it in with your fingers. So these options are always you can always apply it with your fingers. I personally like to show you how you can apply a normal highlighter, which is in a champagne shade, but it's in this little eyeshadow palette right here, how you can apply it with your finger. Then you have, you need to keep in mind that if you're using cream or liquid highlighters, just make sure that you're applying it before you're going to set your face with translucent powder. Then if you're going for a powder like in a palette or in a single pan, then just make sure that you're going to set your face at first and then move on to the powder highlighters. So as I said, I personally for today's video I'm going to work with powder highlighters, and there's also one trick that you can do if you like to. You don't have to, it depends on how shiny you want it to reach the highlighter. So you can apply it with your finger, which will give you already the amazing effect because your finger is warm and it has a little bit of oil on it, so it just will glide on and the pigmentation and the shimmer from a highlighter will just explode, which is beautiful. So if you wanted to keep it kind of subtle, go in with your finger after you have set your face with translucent powder. If you want to go a little bit further to make it blinding, then you can go in with some setting spray. So you have set your face with powder, go in as a final step with setting spray so that your face is a little bit damp again, and then go in with some powder highlighter, because this works beautifully and it looks gorgeous. So at first I'm going to show you, well actually, yeah, I mean as you wanted to go for it. So I'm going to just apply it now dry, so without the setting spray, and then later on I'm going to set my face with everything on. So I'm going in with this little pan, as I said, and I'm going to use my finger to apply it. So first off, we are going to apply some highlighter on the cheekbones. So just take a little bit of highlighter on your finger and you're going to apply it on the cheekbone right here. So I have applied a little bit of blush, and it basically just should melt in with your blush application so that there is no line in between where one of the other stops. So these two, like blush and highlighter, should melt in another. So basically I'm just going right here, like this line, just imagine a line, and this is where you're going to start with applying the highlighter. And I'm going to do circular motion so that I'm not creating a harsh line, but it still will melt in with the blush. Just like this. And I haven't used that much highlighter, I've just used, as you saw on my finger, just kind of a bit, but it's still a little bit more blinding. And then when you're shifting your head in the lighting, you will see the reflection. So you could go in a little bit harder so that it's even more blinding, but this is just your own preference. So if you're starting off slowly by adding little by little, then you can control the amount that you're using rather than just digging into it and then you regret that you have used too much. And now for the second step, I'm just going to pull this out of the way. We are going in this part right here, because when you normally would look into lightning, or if you have a very moisturized face, for example, then you will see where the natural highlighting actually is, and this is basically right here and also up here. So I'm just going to apply a tiny bit right here, not too much. I like to keep the main focus on my cheekbone, but also a tiny bit right here, like this. I'm just going to follow the natural highlighting areas which you will get if you are having a moisturized face and you're looking into the mirror, and you will see where it highlights normally. Then when it comes to the eye area, so I have everything on except a really like nice eye makeup look. I just used a bit of mascara, but if you want to keep it a very daily makeup look, for example, or also an highlighting makeup look, then you just could use also a little bit of highlighter in the inner corner and under your brows, and then you're good to go. It's not really a full-on eye makeup look, but it still is like, it just catches your eye automatically because you have highlighter right here in the inner corner and also under the brows. So again, use your finger, just going right here, like underneath the brow. And I'm just making sure that I'm not creating a harsh line, so it should be a little bit more faded. So from the brow hairs towards a little bit like under the brow bone, so that it looks a little bit softer rather than just a straight line. And now for the inner corner, I'm going to use my pinky because this is the smallest finger, and I'm putting this one in the inner corner. So just take your pinky, a little bit of highlighter on it, and put it in the inner corner. And I mean, you are controlling the amount of highlighter you are going to use for your own makeup. So as I said, if you want to go heavier, just dig into a little bit more. But if you want to keep it very natural and really glowy looking, then just start off slowly and you always can add more. So now when it comes to the nose area, the tip of the nose and bridge of the nose, yes. If you want to make sure that your nose, like let's say you have a little bit more of a larger nose, or you aren't happy with the tip of like the pointed part of your nose, then do not really highlight this area. You can still highlight the bridge of your nose, but if you're having troubles with this area right here, then you're not going to highlight this area, because everything that you are highlighting will bring forward, and everything that you will keep matte or contour, like with a darker shade, will take back. So if you are happy with your nose, you can also put it on the tip of your nose. If you are a little bit scared, then I just would recommend going over the bridge of the nose. And I'm also going to take the pinky for the bridge of the nose. I'm not going to overdo it on the bridge of the nose because, I mean, it isn't like, it's not really shining when it's naturally already shining. It's just a tiny bit of like seeing that it's moisturized, and just a tiny bit on the tip of the nose, not too much. And then you always can take a clean finger if you feel that you have applied a little bit too much, to just take it off. Now of course, if you like to, you can also highlight your Cupid's bow, and I would recommend going in with your finger because this is what the video is about, and it just gives you a little bit more precision and you really can feel where you're going over your Cupid's bow. So basically go in with the pinky because it just gives you a little bit more control when it comes to these types of areas where you really need to take control over it. When it comes to the cheekbone area, then you can also fade it out a little bit more, and that's also why you can use a larger finger. But now for the Cupid's bow, just can put a tiny bit on top, like this. So now that I've done one side of my face, I'm just going in with some setting spray, and I'm going to apply this, like spray this all over my face, and then go in with some highlighter on this side so that you can see the difference. And also, this is also a tip that I always like to give, because if your face is damp, then the highlighter can pop a little bit more because it's more like a wet application. But you don't have to do this. I mean, you can see that this looks really nice and gorgeous, and I didn't like went too heavy. I mean, I could have gone a little bit further, but I personally just like to keep it kind of natural. So now I'm just going in with some setting spray, and I'm spraying this all over my face. Ooh, now giving it a little bit to settle to my skin. And now you can already see that this side is a little bit more wet looking instead of kind of the dry powder. But it also depends on your skin type. Then you can also just ignore the setting spray, because for example, if you have an oily skin tone, skin type, then you just want to keep it a little bit more matte rather than oily or wet looking, because you're naturally getting oily. But if you want to have, like if you have a dry skin, then the setting spray is a really nice option. And now if I'm going in with my finger again into the highlighter, and I'm going to place it right here, so it just gives you a little bit more of a different effect. Now this is looking really nice and wet looking, and it just blends into the blush. And this one looks a little bit more high shine rather than wet looking, because I'm going to apply the highlighter and I'm pressing it in with the setting spray already on it. The upper part right here, and now for the inner corner, using my finger, use the pinky for the finger, and you can see that it's really nice and reflective. So it depends on what you're looking for when it comes to the finish of a highlighter, like of a powder highlighter. If you're using liquid, as I told you before, you have to use it a little bit differently, but still you can use it with your finger. But all in all, you still can see the difference, and I've just wanted to show you also the tip when it comes to the setting spray. You can use it before or after, and it also will give you a little bit more of a difference when it comes to the finish of the highlighter. So I hope that this makes sense. And basically this is how you can also have or decide on what finish you want to get. So this is also the end of the video, and I hope that you enjoyed it, because there's not much to say when it comes to applying it with your finger. It just depends on if you have a larger area, use a bigger finger. If you have a smaller area where you need to control a little bit more like where you're going to place it, use the pinky. It just works the best, and you don't need a brush, so you just can use your hand. There's nothing more that you need to add except for finding a highlighter, and as I said, it can also be from an eyeshadow palette. You don't have to buy an extra highlighter on its own, because sometimes, I mean, you can save some money. If you have already a palette at home where you find yourself like, oh, this is a beautiful highlighter, just use this one. You don't have to spend extra money on an actual highlighter pan if you don't really need to, and if you have a highlighter in your eyeshadow palette. I hope that you get what I'm talking about. But basically, you can save some money, and you don't have to use a highlighter pan on its own. So this is when it comes to the powder highlighter, how you can apply it, and also with the setting spray you can use it. You don't have to, it depends on the finish you want to get. And this is it, and I hope that you enjoyed it and that you liked the video. If you did, then please give me a thumbs up, and also don't forget to hit the subscribe button underneath, and I will see you soon in the next one. Bye!